Welcome to the Creativity Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Smith. Today, we have a very special guest, my dear friend, Mr. Trubia. Mr. Trubia, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. So nice to see you.
Now that it's 10 years of me being outside of school, should I call you Richard now or still continue to call you Mr. Trubia?
Rich is fine.
Rich is fine. Okay.
Good.
Got it. Yeah, Richard sounds really official.
Yes.
Richard. Before we get into it, I gotta read my ads. Well, it's just one. We have one sponsor today. Today's episode of the Creativity Theory Podcast is brought to you by Hellmann's Mayonnaise. If you're using a different brand of mayonnaise, what the hell, man? Hellmann's Mayonnaise. That's the stuff. All right, we can continue the podcast now. Well, how you been, dude?
I've been well. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on. I know this is your first podcast experience. Are you nervous?
No,
not at all. You're cool as a clam.
Hey,
huh?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you told me recently when we were messaging. First of all, I want to shout out to my last guest, Kenny Mylord. This was his suggestion to have Mr. Trubia come on, and I've run into you at the comedy club a couple of times.
Yes.
You're always coming to see Basile. I know that you said that's your
No,
friend.
I come to see you too.
You've seen me too?
Absolutely.
Oh, what do you think of my act?
It has its moments, but I did enjoy it.
Okay, well, as long as you enjoyed it.
Okay.
I know you retired recently.
Yes.
How recent was that?
2021, June.
What brought you to decide now's the time?
Well, the missus had some health issues, and she's been bugging me to, take time off.
Right.
And then I've been getting very busy with some of the nonprofits that I'm on, and my condo down in Carolina Beach keep me busy. So I said, it's time to call it 52 years in education, I feel was enough.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a long time. I know you were a teacher before. I know you as a substitute teacher.
Right.
Mr. Trubia and I met in my sophomore year of high school. I told this story before on the podcast, but I started the broadcasting class, and Miss Stevenson was the teacher at the time, and she was pregnant. And when she had to take leave about 2 months into the semester, Mr. Trubia was the permanent substitute, and he was we just became good friends, good buddies. He appeared in a lot of the videos we made, and he was a good sport, funny guy to work with. So that's how we know each other. What got you, what led you, and this is a long time ago, what got you interested in pursuing teaching?
Well, I always enjoyed school. And I decided at a young age that I would like to be a teacher myself. And I loved history very, very much, so I became a history teacher.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What do you love about history?
All the events, the past events, the people, of history, famous people, and read their stories and understand their stories and the cultures of the world. Right. Traveling around, teaching about things like in Italy and then going and seeing them. It's really, so interesting and fun to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a particular era of history that you feel like you're most fascinated with, that you've maybe dug the deepest into?
Well, probably ancient history of China and India fascinates me very much because of the advancements that they have made thousands of years before the Western world even knew about it. Okay? Yeah. Like Arabic numerals, for one. They're nothing to do with the Arabs. They're to do with the Indians. The Indian people invented the alphabet, okay? And they don't get the credit for it. Yeah. And the Arabs just borrowed it from them because they saw how superior it was to the written languages they were using.
Yeah, I personally do not know much about ancient Chinese or Indian history.
Guess you weren't paying attention in school, were you?
Well, I definitely was not a grade A student in terms of. It wasn't until like the end of college that I got interested in reading. Like I feel like my whole education, I never enjoyed assigned readings, and I was really resistant to them. And it wasn't until the end of college that I suddenly had this like profound sudden sense of, oh, reading is amazing and I can choose what I read. And then I would go buy books and select them myself, and I read a lot. But before then I was very resistant to assigned readings. And I was definitely not like, if there's one subject, I was a good art student. I feel like I liked that. And I liked the literature classes because I got to write in those. I got to make things. Any class that there was a like assignment, like I liked projects, where I got to like make a thing, orchestrate a piece. I enjoyed that, and broadcasting, obviously. Got to do a lot of like hands-on media creation. Mm-hmm. So that was always good for me. But I know I was not a good history student. I'm sorry. Sorry to disappoint you.
That's all right, but you were creative. I remember you had a very creative mind, especially with the Man on the Street episodes, things of that nature. They were a lot of fun, and I enjoyed them.
Yeah. Do you still have your award for softest skin hanging up in
yes, I forgot all about that. No, I put it away. I forget where I have it, but it's somewhere. But I do remember that award.
I remember coming over to your house to shoot that minimum wage episode, and you're playing the attorney.
Yes.
And I saw your very nice, home office, and I mean, it's a beautiful home office, and then there's just this shitty wrapped bottled water that I put aluminum foil on, and this handwritten label. And I'm like, this does not belong in here, but this is so sweet that he has this on display. But anyway, I appreciate that, and I understand having to put it away at this point. So ancient Chinese history, ancient Indian history, a lot of advancements. I know you said the numerals. Was there anything else in that area that just like really fascinates you about that?
Well, basically a lot of the culture, what the Chinese invented, things that we didn't have before. I mean, a movable type, things of that, block printing, okay, and many other areas that they had. They were so far superior, okay. I mean, they were the most advanced country, civilization in the world for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And pretty much now the same is true.
Far more advanced.
Yeah.
Wow. In what way? Because again, I'm just not like educated on this. I don't think. In what ways do you see that they're like still advanced?
Well, you can see now the advancements in China. It's a leading superpower today, and many of the products and things we get come from China. Right? They're produced there, so they are definitely our competitor. Not Russia, China.
Yeah.
And in advancement in the world. Yes, China and the U.S. are the leading countries in advancement.
Yeah. I feel like you have a lot to say, like a lot of knowledge on this.
Well, I don't know about that, but just read. You like to read. Just read about what's going on. You can see now what's going on with the balloons being shot down all over the place. With 3 this week alone. So,
what do you make of that?
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, really. Are they really spying? Is it are the weather balloons? They're going to have to do research on the debris that they collect and see what's really what. You know?
Does it concern you?
Well, I saw in the news today that one forecaster was saying that the people were frantic, Well, I'm not frantic. I asked my wife, Diane, you frantic about this? She goes, no. So I just think that's hype. But no, it doesn't really concern me too much, but that still remains to be seen what evidence they find and what really is going on. But they've been spying, we've been spying. I mean, that's what countries do, So I don't know why everybody's so shocked about it, okay? That's how the world works.
I think the shock, I feel like, is most people are confused how something like that can just get into the country, like fly over the sea and end up in here. And then, of course, everyone's just curious about like what it is and what it means.
Well, the Japanese during World War II, and you might know about this, they knew how the trade winds went. And they were sending balloons over to the United States across the Pacific that had bombs attached to them. And when they got to a certain distance or altitude, they would collapse and the bombs would drop. And most of them fell in Canada and the northwest coast of the United States, okay? But the government at the time did not want to panic the people and kept it a secret. So I think 1 or 2 people were even killed by these bombs. But so it happened, back during World War II, so it's not a surprise to us that this could happen, okay?
Yeah. Do you feel that there is like a lot of the benefit of being familiar with history comes from recognizing patterns that we might be playing out in the present day or into the future, right? And trying to not repeat the errors of the past. Do you feel like that most people aren't very educated on history to a broad enough degree to where we might be acting something out right now as a species or civilization that we're going to repeat an error we've already made before?
Well, that's very true. You probably remember the great essayist George Santa Anna said, all those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And sometimes we keep on, hitting ourselves on the foot this over and over again and doing the same things over and over again and getting the same results.
Yeah.
So, yes, history does repeat itself a lot, unfortunately. Okay, and we've seen that just in certain wars in our country that we have done and other countries have done, and what's going on now in Kiev and Russia, just continuing the same thing. Here we are, 2023, and the advanced country with the United Nations and NATO, and we're allowing this to take place, okay, in a democratic country. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wish I could contend more with the history conversation. I just feel so dumb.
No, you're fine.
So, what year did you stop teaching, and did you immediately get into substitute teaching?
When I retired, okay, well, I was doing administration work as well for a number of years. So I retired in June of 2008, when my son graduated high school. And we had been coming down to Carolina Beach because I have a condo down there since 1985. And I always said, when I retire, we will come down. So he graduated high school in 2009, so we came down in 2009. Okay. And we've been here, and we live in Leland, in Waterford, and we've been here now since November of 2009, and we moved into the house in June of 2010. So we're in the house about 12 and a half years now.
Okay. And I know when you substituted, South Brunswick was not the only place that you subbed at. You subbed at a lot of schools around the area, right?
All the high schools, the middle schools. I was between North a lot and South a lot, okay?
Yeah.
Not too much at West because it was a little too far.
Yeah.
And of course I did the middle schools. I did South Brunswick Middle School as well as the high school.
Yeah. Did you have a preference of which schools you preferred subbing at, which schools you preferred not to?
Well, I'll just say which one I preferred the most.
Okay.
And that was South Brunswick High School. I loved that. I had the most fun there.
Are you just saying that because I'm here?
No, because I did have a good time there. And the teachers were great. Administration was great. And I enjoyed my time there a lot. I really did.
Yeah. Well, we enjoyed you there too.
So thank you.
You're an icon. Did you have a favorite class that you substituted?
Well, I'm going to say the programming class was my favorite because I did that for a while. You know, I did some other classes. I did art class for a while. I did the nursing class for a while.
Nursing?
Yeah, when she retired, Mrs. Batonis.
Oh, okay.
And I took over her class for a while. And I enjoyed that. And I did that class also when I was up in New Hanover County because I split. Then I went to New Hanover County. Yeah. Because it was closer to, and the schools were closer, and it was easy to get me to Carolina Beach than, going from south or even north. I was already, across the bridge. So I finished up my career, in New Hanover County schools. Yeah, yeah. Could you pull the mic just a little bit closer to you? There you go. Yep. There you go. Okay. Do you have any
fun stories that stand out to you of your time, either teaching or substituting, of just and they can go either way. Just a beautiful memory of students coming together, or a horror story of a really misbehaving.
Well, my best times probably were when I was doing just sports. I was chaperoning sports security, and we'd have a great time, and I would work every day after school, either doing football or basketball or wrestling, and all the sports, soccer. And we would get together, especially if it was a Friday night game. We would go out after with the teachers, and we'd have a great time, a lot of fun. So, and then enjoying the sports, because our school did very, very well on Long Island, and would be the Long Island champs a number of years in a row. So that was a lot of fun. Enjoying going to the prom. I did the prom every year, did graduation every year, read names every year. Those are real stuff I liked. The teaching was fine and all, but those things made it even more fun.
The fun events.
Going to the concerts, especially the concerts, because both of my children were music majors, so I was very supportive of the music programs there as well, and going to the plays that the kids performed. It was really a nice experience, and seeing the kids go through high school, because mostly I taught 10th grade, 9 and 10. And the World History 1 and 2. So those are my area of expertise. But it was a good experience, okay?
Yeah.
I was dean of students as well. So there you had a deal, with students like you.
Wait, what do you mean?
No, you were good. You were never a problem. I
don't know about never.
But you were fine with me. We never, you and Jake were my two favorites, as you know.
Yeah.
And I had a great time with both of you. And the rest of the class was great, too. Because I did have seniors that year who were a couple of years ahead of you, because I was doing programming 1, 2, and 3. So, and some of the students have kept in touch with me, through Facebook, which could be a wonderful thing if everybody uses it in the proper way. Yeah. And it's nice to see you guys grow up. Some have got married already. Some have children already. So it's hard to believe in just 10, 11 years how things change for the students.
Not me. No marriage or kids for me. I'm very lonely.
Well, I was 36.
Really?
I was 36 when I got married, so I took my time.
You took your time?
Yeah. She was 21. I was 36.
How'd you meet your wife?
We met through friends.
Okay.
And it was just one of those things, and we hit it off, and a couple of years later we got married.
Okay, so y'all knew each other for a couple of years before you got married?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind when I got to know someone for at least 2 years.
Well, for a man, especially if you're not concerned about having children, you can get married at any age.
Yeah.
If you want to get married.
That's true. Yeah.
But you don't have to get married. You could still, be with somebody and not be married.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how.
Times are very different now than they were when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was young, you were expected to get married.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's the deterioration of young people's interest in marriage is a good thing or not. I used to think it was an interesting, good thing, but now I don't know so much. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, you got to follow your own feelings and your own heart. If you meet someone that's the right person and you feel comfortable and you think you want to make it a permanent relationship, that might be the way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'll know when it happens. You'll know.
Yeah. So post-retirement, I know you said you are the treasurer and immediate past board president of Thalian Hall?
Yes.
How'd you come into that? What does immediate past board president mean? Does it mean like you were?
I was.
Okay. I didn't know if that was immediate past, talking about history. The immediate history.
A year ago at this time, I was president of Thalian Hall Center for the Performing Arts. Okay. And then my term was up. And I had been treasurer before. I had been vice president before. So I was able to stay in the loop in the executive. And I like being treasurer. Okay. So now I'm treasurer again. Okay. But I'm on the board for Wilmington Symphony Orchestra as well, and I've been treasurer and vice president of that. And through that connection, I got on the Thalian Hall board. Okay. And I enjoy them both, being on both those boards. Okay, and I've served on several other boards as well over the years. I'm on the Theater Arts Awards Committee. Right now, we just nominated many of the shows that have taken place, not only at Thalian Hall, but at Cape Fear Community College, at UNCW, and elsewhere. And they get nominated, just like the Oscars: best show, best musical, best play, actor, director, sound, And so that'll be announced March 23rd at Thalian Hall when they have the annual awards ceremony, which had been on hiatus because of COVID. So we haven't had it since 2019. So this year we're trying to get all the shows that were done in 2021, and of course past year 2022. So they all got nominated. So it was very, very difficult for the six of us to try to remember to go back.
Yeah, and catch up.
And to catch up and see, okay, oh yeah, that was pretty good. So I'm excited about that. So I'm looking forward to seeing, because the public votes for it, and we have a vote also. We have 1/3 of the vote, and another third of the vote would be the public, and another third of the vote would be the various organizations, okay? They put their vote in. So hopefully the people who win will be the people who deserve to win.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yes, it is.
I know you have a fascination with music. I mean, a lot of people like music, but I feel like you particularly like the live, like orchestral and classical kind of music. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, we just had a concert at the Wilson Center this past Saturday. We could go Saturday, not this past. I had before, and it was what they call Gucci. What was it called again?
Gucci Mane.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
Wait, really?
Yeah, no, it was Gucci something else about the black people with the rice growing. And it was and we had a speaker there who spoke while the orchestra was playing. It was very, very good.
Huh.
Yeah, and it was about the history, okay, of growing rice here in the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. But it's done very, very well, and it was good. And my son also performs with the Wilmington Symphony. He's been with them since he came down in 2009. Yeah.
I know your son, we talked about him playing piano for something in a movie I was shooting a couple of years ago. He plays piano. He plays multiple instruments, doesn't he?
He plays violin, viola, piano, and organ. And he has a piano shop here in town, Cape Fear Piano Shop. In fact, he's pretty well known. I am now Brent Trubia's father.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Brent Trubia's father. Yes, I am. So
congrats to him.
Yeah, right here on 17th Street, just before you get to Market. He's on the left. And,
okay.
So he's got a lot of pianos there. He sells, repairs, tunes, moves, buys pianos. He rents pianos to the film industry. And a lot of his pianos have been various movies that have come out recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Including the one that was, what's her name? Jessica Chastain, who was filmed, a lot of it was filmed at Thalian Hall a year ago, March.
Okay.
And his pianos were in some of the homes that they were using as well. Okay, so it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you play instruments yourself?
No, I always wanted to, but I grew up in the city. There were 6 children.
New York City, right?
In Queens.
Queens, okay.
Queens, okay, one of the boroughs. There were 8 of us living in an apartment above a liquor store, and both parents working hard. And my daycare was riding into the city with my mom and her sister to work. My mother was working on a machine that made women's knitted clothing. And I would be on the floor playing with my little soldiers when I was 2, 3, 4 years old before I started school.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do that was daycare back then.
Yeah. Did you have, or do you have, or did you have like creative outlets? Like, did you like painting or drawing? Or
no, I'm an artist. I'm not, and an athlete. I'm not. My brothers were all athletes, but I wasn't. I was, more doing schoolwork. I did do. I was in the theater. I did a lot of plays, a lot of musicals. And
like acted in them?
No, yes, sang, danced. I was very thin back then, so I did a lot of dance.
Oh, you're still thin now. Come on.
And I had a lot of fun doing a lot of musical shows out of high school in a theater group that was in a community theater on Long Island. And I had a lot of fun doing that. So that pretty much was my area of the arts. And that's what got me interested in the arts. And I always said when I have children, they are going to be musicians, something I always wanted to do, but my parents couldn't afford. So I started my daughter on flute and piano when she was 5. And then I started Brent on violin and piano when he was 5. And then he kept on adding instruments, viola lessons, organ lessons. So he was taking 4 lessons a week with 4 different teachers.
Yeah.
On 4 different instruments.
Yeah.
But it has paid off, and they both went to UNCW, and they were both music majors. My daughter graduated in 2007 and Brent in 2014. And they both have their own businesses. My daughter has her own music studio called Port City Music.
Okay.
And she's up on Gordon Road. And she's got over 300 students, children and adult, instruments and voice. Yeah. And she's got about 18 teachers, and she's doing quite well, as Brent is. So we're very pleased with what they're doing, our children.
Yeah, it sounds like you've raised a couple standout kids.
We've been very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very lucky. Yes.
Well, what do you feel like is your secret to living a good life? I feel like you strike me as a happy guy.
Yeah,
would you say you're mostly a happy guy?
When we were in class, I was always smiling.
Yeah.
I was having a good time. And I was enjoying myself. It was great. And I loved to be around the kids and children, young adults and all. It was great.
You just find that fulfilling in itself, like just being around young people and teaching.
Right, I do. And I enjoy that to this day very much.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a specific thing in that you find fulfilling that like draws you into it?
I like people. If you're a people person and you have a good attitude towards people. My dad, I used to work in his business when I was a kid. He had a gas station right outside of Kennedy Airport. And he would tell me, son, our gasoline is not any better than anybody else's gasoline. So you have to show goodwill. And there's one thing I remember my dad told me, you show goodwill to people and they will show it back to you as well. And that's a very, very important thing that I remember that he told me. And that's been pretty much what I do. Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't call myself a people person. I feel, but it's not like out of a misanthropic sort of thing. I feel like I have some sort of like tinge of social awkwardness, and I'm bad at putting words to it or like why I'm like that. I don't think it's a dislike of people. I think it's like a fear, like part of me doing this podcast was recognizing I'm kind of bad at conversations. I'm bad at, like, I feel like you, if you are a people person, you're genuinely curious about people, right? You probably naturally ask good questions. Would you say that's true?
Well, I would hope so. I don't know. Every question I ask is good, but you're doing fine. You're a young man still, and you got time, to develop.
I'm running out.
No, you got. No, I'm running out. You're not running out. But you got plenty of years ahead of you to develop, your personality. And that'll change over years. Believe me, it does for many, many people. I just happen to see the glass always half full. I'm not negative about anything because there's no...
It doesn't benefit you to be negative.
It doesn't benefit. To be negative.
You or
There's nothing
anyone.
Positive about it. And who wants to be around negative people anyway?
No one.
I don't either.
Other negative people,
maybe. So, like I said, I like people having a good time. I go to a lot of shows, and I saw this weekend, I saw Airness, which is something you may like to see. If you want to go, let me know. I'll get you a ticket.
Airness?
Airness.
Oh, I thought you said anus.
No, Airness, Airness. It's a big dog production at Thalian Hall in a Bucky and Ruth Stein Theater. And it's about the air guitar competitions that they actually have. It's a comedy, but it was very, very good. And you might find it, I think you enjoy it, because I was laughing a lot, and that was good. And Friday night I saw Thalian Association was doing the community theater, the Philadelphia Story. And that was also a very good show, and everyone seemed to enjoy it, had a lot of laughs. Yeah. So I would encourage your audience here to, if they have a chance, go and see both shows now, at Thalian Hall, the Philadelphia Story, Thalian Association, and Big Dog Productions of Airness.
Airness, not Anus. You saw a Book of Mormon recently.
I saw it Wednesday night.
Yeah.
To a sellout crowd.
Yeah.
All nights, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday had sellout crowds.
Wow.
Diane and I do all the Broadway shows.
Yeah.
So we do.
I would have loved to see that one. I'm not genuinely interested in that sort of thing, but that one I've always really wanted to see.
It's a good musical. It may not be for everyone.
Oh, of course.
But the audience there seemed to enjoy it very much, and I enjoyed the show, and it had a good following. The funny thing, I don't know about funny, but they had Mormon missionaries outside the show.
Yeah.
And so I talked with them. There was about 4 or 5 of them, and they come from Utah. And it looks like their job is to follow wherever the Book of Mormon is playing. And they were giving out the Book of Mormon, and they asked me if I would like a copy. I said, absolutely. So I took a copy, brought it in with me, and I started reading it a little bit the other day. So I think I'm going to just read it, to be more knowledgeable, about, the Mormons. But they were very nice, and it was nice to see them there. So I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a religious man, would you say?
Well, I have my moments, okay.
Have your moments?
Yeah. My wife is much more religious than I am. She goes to church twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. I was going pretty regularly, okay, but then I just kind of got busy and kind of fell off the wagon for a while. So, I was raised Catholic, and I was, involved in 2 churches as an administrator. Okay, running the religious education programs for 6 years. So I was very involved. I thought about, don't laugh, but I did take some classes over at the Immaculate Conception Seminary. And
why would I laugh at that? I don't even know what that is.
That means becoming a priest.
Oh, okay.
Seminary. But I decided it wasn't for me. Okay. And my priest, who was sponsored me and all, and who I worked for, and the pastor, he was a very, very good man.
Yeah.
And he was disappointed that I decided not to follow that through.
Well, I'm interested in that. What sparked your interest in pursuing that? And then what about that pursuit? Like, what happened in the pursuit that made you, this isn't for me?
Well, basically, you had to be celibate.
Okay.
No women.
You're like, I gotta have sex.
Well, so that's what.
You wild dog, you.
Well, the 60s and 70s was very, very different, if you remember. Not that you remember, but you probably heard about.
Yeah, heard stories.
Especially the 60s, and that was my area of growing up.
Okay.
High school and college was the 60s.
So you partied in the 60s.
Well, I had a good time. Good time. No drugs.
No drugs?
No, I never did drugs.
I was going to ask you smoked DMT?
No. I never smoked cigarettes.
Never smoked cigarettes?
No. So did I try? Yeah, my friend. Yeah, I said, I don't smoke cigarettes. This doesn't even taste good. So I never did pot either. I just went my.
Never even tried it?
I tried it.
Tried it. Okay.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Tried it. So you tried it once?
Yeah. Even like cigarettes, I tried it once, a couple of times. No. If I have to force myself to like something, to be part of the crowd, I was never a follower. I always did my own thing, even to this day. And to be with the guys and be part of the crowd. If I have to do something I don't want to do, I don't want to be with that crowd. And I've always felt that way. So that's me.
Yeah. What about alcohol?
Well, in my younger day, we all did drink, okay? And, the law in New York back then was 18, but we were going to bars at 15, with phony proof. Or they didn't really care at ass back then, It was just, you just went. So, of course, I did that. I didn't drink a lot, but I don't drink today, so I don't really drink, no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't personally enjoy it myself very much.
I mean, if we're out and with couples and we're going to dinner or something, I might have a beer, but I don't drink at home at all.
Right.
Mostly water. If I could take a drink from this big glass.
You got a big mason jar. Sorry, I could have given you a smaller glass. I just wanted to make sure.
Just the weight of it.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited just lifting it.
You get your resistance training in from lifting that jar. Well, okay. So you said you were raised Catholic. My grandparents, so I guess my grandparents are like the inverse of you and your wife. It was more like my grandpa was more into it, and then my grandma was supportive.
Okay.
But like my grandpa was the one that really wanted to go to church, and I think we would go to an Episcopalian church. Okay. Do you know much about the different factions?
Yes. Well, teaching history, I taught all the religions because it was part of the cultures. Okay, and you can learn a lot. Things in various histories of religion that come way before Christianity. Yeah, people aren't aware that Islam is, even that came after Christianity, has many of the teachings.
Yes,
of
there's a lot of agreement between the two.
Of Judaism in it. Okay, so and they recognize Jesus as a great prophet. But not a god. Okay. And Muhammad is seen as the last of the great prophets. Okay, but every religion, of course, has its pluses and minuses to people. But to fight over religion is so sad and crazy, and
I agree.
It's a shame that still continues to this very, very day.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear more about because I've always wanted to have someone on that knows about this kind of thing to talk, because I'm at a place in my life where I'm genuinely curious about it, because it's been a thing. I mean, just like history and all sorts of knowledge I just kind of glossed over when it was being given to me, and now I'm turning back around and being like, oh no, wait, let me hear about that. Do you know, so you said you were raised Catholic, and when you do go to church, what faction of?
Well, funny you say, we go to the Episcopalian church.
Okay. Do you know the difference between Catholics and Episcopalians?
Well, they call Episcopalian Catholic light.
Okay, yeah, I think I've heard that.
You probably heard that before. And my wife was raised Presbyterian.
Okay.
And when we got married, and her father and mother were very involved, he was treasurer of their Presbyterian church and all. So I didn't care where we got married. So we did get married by a minister, but we did have a Catholic priest officiate as well. Okay. And we raised both children. She raised them Presbyterian, I raised them Catholic. So they never complained about going to church twice a week. And they went to Sunday school and religious instructions for both religions. And they made their confirmation in both religions. So they were very, very good about that. Now they don't go to church at all, but they did go quite a bit back then. So about 2002, my wife left her church, but I couldn't get her to go to Catholic. So we compromised, and we found an Episcopal church on Long Island in Stony Brook, and we started going there together. So now we could worship together, which was very, very nice. Yeah. And then we came down here. We found St. Paul's Episcopal Church right on Market. And so we've been going there, ever since. And my wife loves it there, and it's nice that we can worship together. But it's very, very close. Okay, their priests can marry. They do not have a problem. You don't have to go to confession like the Catholics do. It's just general, that they give you communion, so you don't have to go to confession, like I said. And divorce is much easier in the Episcopal Church than it is in the Catholic Church. Okay, so those are pretty much, they don't recognize the Pope as the leader of the church either. Okay,
Episcopalians don't?
No.
Okay.
No, Episcopalians don't. Okay, so those are the major differences, but pretty much everything else is fairly similar, pretty much similar.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, the New Testament is the New Testament, so they all pretty much go by, the Bible.
Yeah. So when you were saying like I asked if you were a religious man. You said, I try sometimes, or you get busy, right?
Yeah,
and you're talking about attending church.
Yes.
Sometimes you get too busy to attend church regularly.
Well, that's an excuse. You can always find time to attend, okay?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess I was more curious about, the church attendance is interesting to me, but about just like how you think about religion or your connection with God, or how you think about God. Or these things, like, what do they mean to you? Are they things that you think about, or is it kind of?
Okay, yes, especially as you get older. Because your time, is getting close.
Yeah.
And I'm in the very, very autumn of my life. And yes, and I do pray. I pray for friends who are ill, and hopefully it does good. You just never know. And you pray for your children. Okay, and things of that nature. And so as you get older, you have more spiritualness, and you hope for the best, that there is an afterlife and that there is a heaven and that you will be with God someday. But, you just don't know.
Right. So the idea brings you peace.
Absolutely. Yeah. For most people, and people with strong belief, no matter what religion it is, okay, it gives them a sense of comfort and peace, especially for family members who have passed on.
Yeah.
And it definitely gives them some comfort,
yeah,
and peace.
Yes. It keeps the crazy mind from needing to wander into areas that can drive you mad if you don't have something sufficient to fill that void. I suppose. I find that stuff very, very interesting. We've gone through a lot of the questions I had prepared to write down. Was there any subjects you wanted to discuss with me?
I'm just glad to see you again, to be with you, and I hope your career really does take off, and look forward to see you again, on stage and performing, and seeing how things work out for you down the road. That would make me very happy that you did well. Yeah.
Well, I hope I have something to show you, something to make you think is cool. I'm trying not to say pride, be proud, because pride's a sin, and I don't sin.
Being proud is fine. I don't consider that a sin.
Well,
have pride in your capabilities and what you're doing, and as long as you're doing positive things and you're helping people, that's very, very important.
Well, I think this is an interesting point, because I guess the way that I think about these things now, particularly like a lot of the things in the Bible, and it's not just, I focus on Christianity because it's what I'm most familiar with, but I know that there's all sorts of similar things and maybe even the same thing in a lot of other ancient religions. But with sin, have you heard that the way it's often thought about is that pride is like the main sin and all the other sins like stem from it? I think about that a lot, because I feel in our modern day, pride is really widely encouraged on like a cultural level. And it's one of those things where it's like some things in the Bible, a lot of people will go, oh, of course, a lot of good things can come from that. But there's also some areas or like ideas they have that they're just wrong or outdated or something like that. And I feel like pride's one of those, like saying pride's a sin is one of those things people often go, whatever on, pride's a good thing. But I think I get curious when I feel compelled to say, I'm proud of this. I get compelled to think more deeply about that emotion. Like it's usually, let's say I've completed a project, like a creative project I'm really happy with, and I've worked really hard on. Part of me wants to go, I'm really like proud of myself for getting through this and bringing this together. But I think the idea of why pride is this main sin is because it puts all that on yourself, on your ego, like your individual human self, and it separates you from God or your connectedness with everything else. So I try when I feel compelled to say that, I try to think more deeply and think like, no, I'm grateful that I was able to make this. I'm grateful that all the things that are outside of my control allowed me the space and the opportunity to do it. I don't know.
No, I agree with you, and I have a problem with pride being a sin. I don't see it that way. I mean, if you're doing good and you feel good about yourself because of some of the accomplishments that you have been able to do, I think that's fine to feel good about yourself, because if you feel good about yourself, you'll help other people feel good about themselves as well. So, I mean, too much of anything is no good. So, as Buddha said, everything's in moderation, between the extremes. And that's good to live a life of normalcy between too much or too little. The middle path, as he said, okay? And that's a good way to go, all right? And I believe that as well.
Yeah. The Buddhist teachings. Okay. Well, this might be the shortest podcast I've ever done.
How long are your podcasts usually?
They're usually at least an hour.
Oh.
Let's see. How long have we been?
I know I haven't been counting.
45 minutes. I feel like we could squeeze another 15 minutes out.
What else you want to talk about? You tell me.
I don't know. I got nervous in the beginning because I feel like you were a man of very few words. I feel like you had it almost felt like you didn't want, like you had a lot to say, but you're like, I'm going to keep my words short for this format. I was like, no, please talk. Like,
no, I'll talk about pretty much anything you want to talk about. I don't have a problem with that. I've had a good life. I've been very fortunate. I have a good wife and great children. No grandchildren yet, So hopefully, maybe, but that's their own life. They're very busy with their businesses. We have 2 cats.
Two cats, okay.
And they're both rescue. We had a little black cat that was my son's, and he got as a rescue. Panther, but she's a female. So we've had her in our house now about 8 years, because we never had pets in our house. And then he had another one, a female, that was walking around 17th Street, a stray. A beautiful little tuxedo cat who he calls Jake, but it's a girl, Jakey girl. So she was in his shop, and then Hurricane Florence came, and he said, listen, can you hold her for a little while, because I don't want to leave in the shop, because he had his own apartment. And he already had 2 male cats there in his apartment. So I said, okay, just temporarily. Well, we fell in love with her, and she was very close with me, okay? And he loved her to death. And then she was like 16, 17 years old, and she was declining, and the vet said, there's nothing we could do for her. And so we knew by Christmas that she might not make it. And every Christmas, Brent and Meredith come spend the holiday with Diane and myself. And when I came down Christmas morning, I saw that she was very bad, in a bad way. And I kept on telling her all week, wait till Brent gets here, wait till Meredith and Brent gets here, please. And she did. And then when he came, he saw that she was not going to make it today. And so we were with her all day, had her on a pillow, we were caressing her, and each took a turn spending time and hugging her. And then at 8:21 Christmas evening, she passed away. And so it was very upsetting for all 4 of us. Yeah. But anyway, 3 weeks ago today, I happened to go to PetSmarts by Walmart in Leland, and I went to see the kitten in there, and there was this beautiful tuxedo kitten in there, 6 months old, another stray. And it had the similar markings to Jake, and I fell in love with him, all right? So I told the lady, I want this kitten. And she said, okay, well, fill out the application. I said, okay. So I filled it all out, gave it to her. And she said, well, it's Adopt an Angel that really owns the cats, and they make the decision who will be able to adopt. I said, okay, fine. So about 3 nights later, I get a call from this woman. And she said, okay, I got your application. We're talking. She goes, do you think it's fair to the cat? I said, excuse me, she goes, well, he's going to live 15, 16 years, and you're already 76 years old. I said, oh. I says, well, you make me feel like I have one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel.
That's a pretty...
I said, I'm very healthy for my age.
Yeah.
And I hope to live many, many, many more years. But my wife, she's 62. Is that okay? And I have 2 adult children, and they would take care of if anything happened to either one of us. So I actually had to defend myself, my health, and my age, to be able to get him.
Wow.
And she finally relented, said you can pick him up Tuesday. So it'll be 3 weeks that we have him. And we are so in love with him, and he loves being at the house. And we're so happy to have him, because it takes my mind off of losing Jake.
Yeah.
Even though I think of her often. But what a great little kid. And to rescue an animal, whether it be a dog or a cat, is the most wonderful thing you can do for a pet.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had a pet in a very long time. I know the first death I ever cried over was I was 9 years old. It was my uncle's dog, Puck. It was this German Shepherd Boxer Shar-Pei mix, and he was kind of a big fat dog. I just remember being like a baby and riding him like a horse. And I love that dog. And yeah, I guess, he lived with my grandparents, my mom and uncle's parents. And then I moved, me and my mom moved out of that house. And I guess I heard I had a stepsister at the time, and we were dropping her off at her friend's house, me and my mom were. And then she just like offhand said, have you told Cameron about Puck yet? And then mom just turned to her, was like, what? And she's like, oh, all right, well, bye. And she got out of the car. And then my mom was stuck in the car with me, like, what about Puck? What happened? She was like, he got like cancer and died. I was like, oh. And it just wrecked my whole day. But it's so strange, I've I cried. I was 9 at the time, and I was 25 when I lost my dad. But I'm just saying, I cried a lot harder about that dog than I cried about my dad. Also, I wasn't close with my dad. But it's weird to think about. Like, I feel like I've cried so much harder over that death than any other human death after it. Losing a pet's hard.
Very hard. It's part of your family. In my case, it was a child. And I only had her a little over 4 years. But you get very attached. Now, we never had pets when the kids were growing up. We had little goldfish for Brent. And when Angel Johnny died, he got hysterical. I said, Diane, I'm done. He can't have any more pets because he gets too emotional over it.
Yeah.
So, and I was a dog fan, loved dogs, but I wasn't a cat fan. And a lot of people aren't cat fans.
Yeah.
But once you have a cat live with you. Yeah. They change you completely.
Yeah.
And so I know all these years I missed having a little pet like a cat, because they're so good and they're trained so well, and I'm having such a good time with him, and it's great. The new little kitten, So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the new cat.
Thank you.
Do you have how would you describe what you were like when you were younger? Like, I know you have many different eras of your life. I guess when you were my age, in your mid to late 20s.
Okay, well, I was already teaching. Okay, and when I first started teaching, there were very few jobs because of the Vietnam War. Many people went into education to try to, not to get drafted. Okay, and it was hard, but there was an opening for first grade for a teacher who was leaving on maternity leave. Okay. So I had been student teaching, and this principal said, hey, to this other principal, I got this guy, Richard Trubia, I want you to hire him. So I was teaching first grade for 3.5 years when I first started. And I enjoyed it very, very much. So I was single, of course. I had hair on my shoulders. Okay. Clean shaven back then. So I had a lot of fun, especially with all the mothers, the young mothers of these children, because they loved having me as their child's teacher.
Any hot moms?
Oh, quite a few. Quite a few. But I'm not going to go any further there. But this is, very early 70s.
Yes,
okay?
yes. Okay, I understand what you're
They
putting
would
down.
come and visit me after class. They would bring me, buy me presents. I mean, I had a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So that's in my 20s, and then
yeah. Good thing you weren't a priest back then, right?
No. But those were very good years. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of student teachers. They were good, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But then I got my call for high school, and a few years later, I started teaching in high school, and I was happy with that.
Yeah. I know we're kind of bouncing around the subjects here, but how did you become friends with Basile?
Seeing his show.
Okay,
seeing his show, and we became friendly. And I'm 27% Greek, so I do go to Greek festival and all. And then we had him at Thalian Hall.
Yeah.
And he did a good job there, and it was fun. And
did you do the big room there?
We did. Yeah, he was in the big room. In the theater, the main stage, and it was fun. He was very, very good. He's good. He's not dirty. He's funny. I mean, he's a little off color, but nothing bad. And it was great. It was really, really fun. So we became friends through that, So I keep him in mind. Hopefully we'll have him back again someday soon.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you know much about like the stuff I've made outside of college, but outside of high school. One series I started in college was this web series called Shit Show. And
yes, I remember. Yeah. Yes, I remember.
Okay, yeah. So I'd interview like the headlining comics that would come through the club, and Basile was one of them. He's actually one of the like 10 interviews that have not been released yet. But I shot his back in like 2017, and he was a really good sport about it. Like,
he's good.
Yeah, he can play dirty. He can play ball.
Yeah,
I was. Probably the most wild and rambunctious version of myself making that show. So the stuff that those guys have put up with.
Well, you got to know your audience, because he's performed in venues with young children as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to clean the act up, so to speak, and you have to know your audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I love the way he would come on stage with a cigarette and start blowing it out all over.
He had the dark glasses on, and he would take them off, and he'd be cross-eyed,
yes.
And then the voice he would have. He didn't have to say a word to make you laugh.
Yeah,
just his
funny.
Antics, his actions, his looks, and you'd be hysterical. He was very good, very, very good.
Yeah. Is there a type of comedy that you like to respond to the most?
Yeah, well, his comedy I like a lot. That type of comedy is a lot of fun. I don't care for anything that's too over the top, too dirty. I don't find that some of it humorous. Okay. So
well, you're hurting my feelings, but
it depends. It depends how it is. Okay. Yeah. I mean, just saying the F word just for value. But we'll see. It all depends.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not prudish or anything like that.
Right.
And I have an open mind. But some shows are not for everybody, as you well know. And if it's a funny story and it relates to the story, and the F word has to be in there to make it work, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Shock value for the sake of shock value is it's not the highest form of comedy by any means. But it's definitely a tool I like to use. Like I like to do stuff that's so over the top that it's kind of a satire of itself. I like doing almost like intentionally bad comedy, but doing it in a way to where it's overperformed and you can tell that it's like facetiously being executed. I don't know if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But, going back, for me, because I'm a lot older, like a Rodney Dangerfield. He was very funny, you know, and people would laugh all the time, And even going back, further, other comedians, like Jack Benny or
Sam
Kinison. I like Sam Kinison,
Okay.
I like when we would say, in Ethiopia, they're living in the desert, there's no food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He would tell him, because he was funny. May he rest in peace. But he was funny. I did enjoy him. Okay, And there's so many other comedians that are, really,
Carlin Pryor.
Yeah, Richard Pryor, Carlin. But they were, and even before them, other people that were very, very funny that I enjoyed. But things change, and mores change, and attitudes change, and people like different type of comedy, and we'll see. We're having some comedy people coming to Thalian Hall. Wilson Center has a lot of comedy people there. Jay Leno was there recently, as you know.
At Thalian?
No, at the Wilson Center.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they just had Wanda Sykes there.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
And she was very, very good as well. Okay, so because we have that venue; it's so large.
Yeah.
Thalian Hall cannot afford
Right.
to pay a headliner like Wanda Sykes
Yes.
or Jay Leno. You need a 1,600 seat auditorium like the Wilson Center is. So that's where they can have those type of acts there, and the ticket price doesn't have to be astronomical, to pay their fee. But comedy is good. Comedy is very good, and people need to laugh and have a good time. Enjoy what they're seeing. Okay, that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I like a good comic.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Who does it? Right.
If there's something wrong with you, you don't. Well, I suppose maybe closing statements. Do you have any advice for the younger generation out there?
Well, just basically do your best no matter what it is. If you have a niche in some area, work at it the best you can. And we can't be experts in everything or do everything great.
What are you talking about? Yes, we can.
Well, follow your dream, whether it's acting or, doing some type of technical work or working with your hands, whether it be like I was just at the Wilson Center last Thursday for donor appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
and I do help donate money for scholarships. And they had all the students, not all, but a lot of students sitting on stage, and a few of them came up and told their story. And a lot of them aren't young people. These are older people. Some of them have families already, but they don't have the money for school. And they tell you now that they're learning to do this, or training to be a nurse. And it's such a moving experience to hear them that they're now at this later age in their life going to school for the first time, to college, and helping, to make a better life for themselves and their family, and thanking all the donors who helped them get there. Okay, so it was a very, very wonderful evening, and that's my advice. Try to follow what you want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
To make your life better, not only for yourselves, but for the people around you, family, and friends.
Yeah. And then my last question for you: do you have a favorite Cardi B song?
A Cardi B song.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Cardi B song?
You ever heard Cardi B?
No.
You ever heard like WAP?
No, not my area of expertise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you should listen to some Cardi B.
I'll have to check it out. See what Cardi B is all about.
Yeah, get back to me.
I'm listening to 92.7 WHQR. That's what's on my car radio all the time.
Flip it over to 107.5 for a second. You might hear some Cardi B.
107.5. Okay, 107.5.
I don't know. I don't know if they can play her stuff.
Cardi. I'll have to ask Diana if she ever heard of Cardi B.
I'll send you some YouTube videos.
Okay, you do that. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You probably don't know. I don't even listen to Cardi B.
Oh, okay.
It'd just be funny.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Trubia.
It was great seeing you.
Rich.
It was great being with you again, my dear friend.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have to catch up again sometime. You stay healthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe. Good seeing you.
It's good seeing you, bud. Take care.
You too.